me for giving a fuck. And I mean that. A lot of people get so damn emotional about perspective.
Bitch, are you for real?
This is my truth of what happened to African Americans in this incarnation. I get this topic a lot. I get this topic in every barbershop across America, you gonna get this topic. Everywhere, the airports, what happened to him? How did we get here? How did we get into this state? And it's getting better. As I make this video in 2020, I see daylight. Cause it was pretty fucking dark for a minute. It was scary, especially in Detroit. I'm from Detroit. When Detroit filed bankruptcy, man, it was dark. It was Alaska dark. But I see daylight. What happened to us? Now, let me paint my picture first. All right? I just want to give you a little dialect so you can see the way that I'm going to explain this. Because the way I'm going to explain this, it pisses people off. And I know it does. But the truth, it hurts. But it'll set you free. And it'll give you something to ground to. It'll give you foundation. Now, this is my truth. This is just perspective. Remember, everything is perspective. Because where we are here, whatever you want to call here, this plane we're on, nothing is finite. Nothing. Nothing. It's great entertainment. We are the entertainment race. It's entertainment. Great entertainment. Nothing is finite. All right? All right. So, I'm going to start off with this. One of the things that go across the board, let's just start with animals, okay? So I can really open up your mind to see. So with animals, we used to breed dogs, Rottweilers and American Bulldogs. I want you to ask yourself this question. What's the difference between a $50 dog and a $5,000 dog? Well, somebody just said it, right? One is a pedigree, and one is what? A mutt. Common terms. We're just using dogs, okay? So, what makes a pedigree? And what defines a mutt? Let's start with the mutt, okay? The mutt is usually several different variations of other dogs or bloodlines. Alright? Got a little German Shepherd in it. You know, you see a nice looking dog. People love their dog. What kind of dog is that? Oh, it's a child mixed with poodle, mixed with Shih Tzu, mixed with Cocker Spaniel, mixed with Doberman. Yeah, and a little pit bull. Y'all with me? Alright, just building narrative right now. The pedigree has a bloodline and a genealogy, a record, okay, of the history of that bloodline. And that's what makes that particular dog. And this is across the board in animals. I'm dumbing this down so we can wake up. I'm dumbing it down. I go here. I'm just talking about animals. It's the same with horses. It's the same with cows. It's the same with fucking roosters and chickens. It's the same across the board. It's the same with marijuana. They got strands, right? And clones now. But if you got that organic beginning seed, right? It's the same, people. So let's talk about humans now. All right? Now, I know a lot of you are not aware of this, but it's out. Okay? So we talk about bloodlines. Okay? We're going straight to the blood. And we're going to use the same rules and terms that I just described with humans. Because whether you're aware of it or not, that's how we're judged and looked upon from a hierarchy, as above, so below perspective. You might not be conscious of it, but this is how we're looked upon. Okay, so there's 13 bloodlines that run this plane. I can't say everybody knows this, okay? Because I take a lot of shit for granted. Just because I know something don't mean, you know something I don't know. You see what I'm saying? Everything is experiences. There's 13. They dominating. They're playing the game of life. They're writing the scripts on this plane that we're on. Everybody know this. Especially if you're multidimensional. You absolutely can participate in this shit. And the deeper you get into it and the deeper you allow yourself to be enveloped by this new way of thinking and awareness, life gets pretty, I'll just say this, unpredictable but amazing. Very uncomfortable, but the kind of uncomfortable you get when you're at the amusement park, but you have a fucking amazing time. You know what I mean? So we're talking about human blood. So how does this relate to African Americans? Let's talk about what they call cultures now. Because when you look at an African American, you're comparing an African American to different cultures. All right? So, for example, you have Asian. You guys with me? You have Mexican, right? You have African. You guys with me? You have Russian, right? You have Arab, and the list goes on and on and on and on. But this is where the African American are different from those cultures, because the African American are a culture, and that's why we're judged like a culture. Because African Americans are not African. Why? We go back to the blood. The light bulb should have just turned on. See, you take two Mexicans and they got the same bloodline. You take two Filipinos, they got the same bloodline, right? You take two Germans, bloodline, Jews, bloodlines. I can keep going on and on and on. Indian bloodlines. But African American, I'll just use me for an example. I have Asian in my blood. I got Indian in my blood. Right? I got African in my blood. You see how my bloodline has been watered down? That separates me from the elite. Why do you think when you go to the hospital, the first thing they want to do, and I know a lot of people go just laugh when I say this, but it's really this deep. The first thing they do is they draw blood. Because the power in this life, where we are right now, call it what you want, is in the fucking blood. There's a special kind of blood in this realm that gives you unfair advantages. It's out here. I mean, you should know this shit. We should know this shit by now. We should know that when we're looking at what they told us are movies, right? With all this off the wall shit that we ain't used to seeing, because we live in a little box, most of us. All we got is a Wi-Fi connection and fast food. That's a whew, that's another little podcast, but yeah. So what happened? Why do African Americans hate each other? Why can't we come together? It's hard to unite with so much different culture in your blood. It's hard to unite when you got Caucasian, And I'm talking about behaviors and the way different cultures are different. Different cultures have different perspectives. Different cultures are raised different. They got different beliefs, different religions. You understand what I'm saying? This shit is deep. It's a whole different program. There's, the Indian have a whole different program of the African American. Totally different program. Two opposite, extremes. So when you take 3 and 4 and 5 bloodlines and you mix them all together, you get, from an energy perspective, kind of like what you would call an untamed horse. Because you got so much personality in that. You got so many different varieties of energy. This is mixing. This is like a potion. I'm talking from a soul perspective. I'm not talking about as humanoids. I know I sound crazy as hell as a humanoid, but from a vibrational and energy perspective, that's why African Americans can't come together, because they have so many different bloodlines amongst African Americans. Because as soon as you start mixing these energies together, right? You get chaos. You get confusion. Are y'all waking? Stevie Wonder can see this shit. Are y'all waking up to this? It's the mixing of the seeds, experiments, cloning. It's been going on for a long time. That's why, right, in some of the older books like the Bible and different Qurans and different spiritual beliefs, if you had sex out of your particular your culture, you understand what I'm saying? You were murdered. I know in the Arab country they would kill you if you dated out of your race at one particular time. I know that a lot of them are Americanized now, but this is what's you fucking up bloodlines. They will kill you. Like Harry, Prince Harry. He fucking with that bloodline, that royal bloodline. That's, I'm not going to talk about that because I want this channel to stay up. But that Harry shit, he fucking with that bloodline. You... And I don't want to get the AI on me and, the bots on me and, we just getting started. So that is the truth from my perspective of why, because you got to ask yourself. And you got to really, when you ask yourself this question, if you're African American, you have to really look at the totality of the numbers. Because all African Americans, aren't. I'm not saying no African Americans stick together, but we're talking about from a culture. We're a culture. African Americans are just like Asians or Filipinos. We are a culture. We are a culture among cultures. But we lost the purity of our blood. It is what it is. It is what it is. I give you silence for a minute. I give you a minute to think about that. That's what happened. And that's why if we go to Africa, they don't really accept us as Africans. Because Africans can see the Asian in us. They can see the Caucasian in us. They can see the Indian in us. Them Africans over there, they got up one of them bloodlines, man. That African bloodline, man, that organic African bloodline is powerful, man. It's fire in me. You know what I'm saying? It's powerful. But we lost our bloodline. Our blood has been defiled. You see what I'm saying? It's watered down, mixed. They call it, from an energy perspective, it's almost like witchcraft because you're mixing different energies together, which is experimental. This is why they call Earth, right, the experimental planet. That's why we got so many different species on this planet. or plane, I'll just say. If I say planet, you know, you understand what I'm saying, but it's really a plane. A plane with a holographic projection that gives you the illusion of flat, circle. That's holograms. We live in a holographic AI, artificial, right, simulation of a universe. That's what we are, man. I laugh about it because as soon as you wake up to this and accept it, this shit gets kind of fun. Unpredictable, right? But you have to learn how to control the thoughts. And you have to learn how to focus to hold different frequencies longer. But yeah, the African Americans, man, are very, very, very unique beings in themselves, right? But I'm just answering the question of why they don't stick together as much as the other cultures like the Japan, and because African Americans are a culture, built a culture. You see what I'm saying? It's almost like a religion. It's chaos, but I'm explaining to you why it's chaos. Because the bloodlines have been contaminated. You see what I'm saying? They've been contaminated. So these group of people are who we are. You know what I'm saying? We are who we are. We are beings. We were created. We alive. We conscious. We powerful. Right? But it's chaos because of the bloodline contamination, the mixing and mingling of bloods, the experimental planet where an experiment went wrong, if you want to call it wrong, and that's where this duality came from, because there are realms that are non-duality. I have experienced them. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful places, right? But what I've heard now, this is what I heard. I've experienced it, so I'm using my experience, and then I'm attaching the polarity to my experience to give you what I'm about to tell you, right? Because I only like to talk about shit I experience. But there are planes where, you know, there's no bad. It's just all good. There's no such thing as bad, and you can experience that. You understand what I'm saying? But these planes are a plane of non-duality is infinite. So you are everything all the time. Positive, 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 positive. And I know from where we are that I'll be like, that would be fucking amazing. But when you talk about infinity and out of time and space in non-duality, if there's non-duality, that means everything is one infinite mind, or one infinite mentalism, one infinite being. There's everything all at once, and everything is experiencing everything at once. I mean, like perfect sync. The shit is happening now. It's all of the dimensions. Is what you call a universe. But what I'll get into, because I'm 23 minutes in, what I'll get into more deeper, if I even remember, because I don't want to take no notes. I just want this to be the blah, 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 where I get to, you know, let go of shit and talk about shit. And a lot of shit will make sense if you just look at it from a multi-dimensional perspective. Everything is perspective. All right, Derek Dunlap here. Just a ramble, but I get that a lot. I got that a lot this week in the barbershops, different discussions. What happened to the African American and why black people? You can't say black people anymore, ladies and gentlemen. You can't say why don't black people stick together. You can't say that because Nigerians stick together. You understand what I'm saying? Africans, they stick together. If you want to talk about it, talk about it. Africans stick together. Nigerians stick together. There's a lot of colored skinned people that stick together. The problem is with African Americans. You were born in America, right? That's the problem. Because if you trace your blood, Your bloodline has been contaminated. It's been mixed and mingled with other cultures. And so if you use the example that I started with in the beginning of how we rate animals, you have to tap into the universal laws to even understand this. As above, so below. The animals, from an awareness perspective, are below us. We're just aware of more. They just as conscious as we are. They can learn probably better than we can because they have less distractions. We're just more aware. What do you mean, Derek? We're aware of technology. They could give two flying fucks about technology, but they're sharing the same experience as we are, but from a different perspective. And I'll leave you with that. Peace.